Hey guys, welcome to BroTalk episode 9. Today in this episode, we will be teaching you guys on how to make anywhere from 15K to 50K more money into your income, either if you work maybe in a white collar job or into a blue collar job, and we'll be teaching you different strategies on how to do it. So please come and join our conversation. You can like, comment, and subscribe, but listen in. All right, Aurus. So
yes,
it's very interesting how obviously you and I, being brothers, we differentiate in different type of jobs, right? I fall into the blue collar community type, more hands-on, while you fall into the white collar community.
Yes.
So there are a lot of people that are wondering that are in that white collar community, how can I make more money?
Yes.
What are different ways that I could, excel in my income? What can I do? What would be your answer to that?
Just work more.
Oh, wow.
That's it. Episode done. Let's get. I'm kidding. No. And I assume you're asking, other than working extra hours, right?
I feel like that's the obvious answer for everybody.
Yes. Okay, so I think what you need to do, the overall principle is that you need to make sure that your time becomes more valuable.
Okay.
Right. And again, I'm only speaking about the white collar community, white collar jobs, and specifically, I'm going to be speaking about 5 to 7 careers, right?
Okay.
Specifically, so I'm a doctor of PT, a doctor of physical therapist. I'm talking about physical therapists, occupational therapists, nurses, physician's assistants, and you know something? I'll add 2 more: physical therapist assistants, and occupational therapist assistants.
Okay. In that realm.
In this realm, right, which is our medical professionals, right, the health science professionals, they have different names. So what I would say is this, and again, the principles, the people can take the principles and apply it into their own field, right, but I'm focusing here. So you need to make sure that your time, right, either your time becomes more valuable, which means you're worth more.
Yeah.
Right? Because yes, no matter which of these careers I just mentioned, there's always only going to be a target range. Like you might only make, $70 an hour, $100 an hour, $60 per hour. I don't know. There's different ranges depending on where you're working, what part of the country, experience, and so much more, right? So you need to do that. Or, right, let's say you only hit up to a certain point, then you just need to get creative. Okay. Now, so the first one, so before I go to the first technique, the first strategy, right? I will say this: in New York, which is where we're currently right now, in New York, PAs on average make around 140K a year on average, right? PTs on average in New York, again the numbers fluctuate, make about $60 per hour, right? OTs, which again, yearly it could be anywhere from like 90 to 115K for PTs. OTs the same thing, and for nurses 131K per year. And then PTA and OTA is just less than the PT and OT, right?
Gotcha.
These are very easy to figure out. Okay, so as you can tell, but there's limits.
Yeah,
there's limits to what you can make in a regular 9 to 5. I learned a long time ago. When I was a student in PT. And one of my CIs, right, clinical instructors, he told me, well, listen, if you only plan on working 9 to 5, you're not going to become wealthy, right? Or if you're not willing to hustle, or you're not willing to work more than just your 9 to 5, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to make over 100K, 120, 130, or much more, right? Or whatever the case is. So either, right, your time has become more valuable, or you need to get creative. So the first one that I'm going to mention, which a lot of big people that are into marketing, sales, they talk about this, right? Like Gary V, right? Yeah. He talks about this, which is you need to tell your story, or you need to build a personal brand in your niche. That will capitalize so much. Basically, what that really means is you're putting yourself out there on the internet, right? And you are deciding, I'm going to teach this one topic, or these 2 topics, or these 3, 4, 5 things, right? There was a professional who once told me, who works in marketing and content creation, and he told me, listen, what he does, or what he's seen a lot of successful people do when they build their own personal brand, what they do is they stick to anywhere from 1 to 5 topics or 1 to 5 things that they love to talk about, or they're experts in, or they're learning, or they're documenting their journey through. Those 1 to 5 topics, they'll hone in on those things. And for example, the first month, let's say January, they'll talk about the first topic. The next month, they'll go to the second one.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say in the third month, they'll go to the third one. And when they go to the fourth month, let's say they're only talking about 3 things.
Yeah.
They'll go back to the first topic in the third month. The fourth is the second, the fifth is the third. And they'll just keep alternating, right?
Okay.
Because what you're trying to do in your personal brand is you're trying to have people get to know you, trust you, and eventually get a service from you or buy something from you, get a course from you, buy your book, hire you, call you, have a consultation from you, whatever the case is. But in order for people to trust you, they have to see you out there,
right,
talking about something, doing something, making them laugh, teaching, right? So, and again, I know this is not for everybody. I know this is not for everybody.
Specific people.
Specific people. But there's tons of people who are already doing this, who are occupational therapists, PTs, right? Who are PAs, who are nurses. So there's tons of people who don't know medical things. And what are these people are doing? They're doing content, right? And they're breaking things down to make things easier. They're giving general tips. Or if you have this diagnosis, do X, Y, and Z because it'll be better for you. Oh, you guess what? You strained your hamstring, right? Then do these 2 tests to see how bad it is. And now I'm going to teach you the certain stretches and exercises. Yeah.
I wanted to say, like, I've seen like videos like on probably like YouTube and stuff like that. You know, sometimes you, instead of going to the doctor, you try to, Google it or YouTube it, right? And then you see someone who's actually like certified or licensed in his career or has a degree, and then they'll talk about it and they'll break it down for you very easily instead of having to wait to go to the doctor and get maybe a more complicated breakdown. Maybe they could simplistically break it down on a video, and then you get to understand it better by the time if you do have to go to the doctor, you already know what they're saying.
100%.
So it's like, that's, I guess, one way. I'm not saying YouTube, but that's just what I've seen.
No, 100%. I mean, definitely don't just watch a YouTube video and be like, all right, I'll cure myself, I'm good. No, if it's bad or.
But they've made an income off that, or like they're building a brand.
They're building a brand because they want you to keep seeing their face, and eventually, at some point, if you really need them, you'll call out, right? But why? Because they build trust. And I would say, and I learned this from Gary Vee, the secret when you're doing all this, you want to give more jabs. You want to give more jabs and less hooks. So to break it down, what that means, right? Well, you're the boxer here, right? So what Gary Vee is trying to say is when you're giving content or you're teaching or you're giving things for free, those are jabs. And Gary Vee says, give as much jabs as you can. And then from time to time, give a right hook, which is the ask. Oh, please, guys, subscribe to my, but can you please buy my book, buy my course, right? But Gary Vee says, don't overdo that because then you just seem like a salesman or a salesperson, right? Right, and we could tell when people can get annoyed, like please buy this, and they remind you all the time. Gary Vee says, don't do that. Give everything away for free. And it's interesting. Gary Vee says, give everything away for free because most people are not going to do everything you say anyway because people are lazy or they forget. Life gets in the way. Just give everything away for free. If people are really, really serious and they really love your content, they're going to buy from you. He also says from his book, Ask Gary Vee, he says, good content should rarely be about what you want. Instead, think about what your audience needs, wants, and give them lots of it, right? And again, I'm focusing on these careers. When it comes to medical things, there's tons of things you could talk about.
I can imagine, yeah.
You can go on years and years and you won't, and there'll still be content to talk about. There's always more to teach, go into more depth or go into new diagnosis, teach stretches and exercise, explain a surgery. Again, there's so much, right?
Right.
Now, maybe someone that's watching this, they're like, okay, but how is that going to make me more money? Well, it's very simple. In the beginning, you're not going to make money off of this, but this is a long-term investment. Now, I'm going to talk about later on other techniques that you can do where you'll get money quicker. This one is like the long-term game. It really is. Because what you're doing is you're setting yourself up as an expert or maybe one of the many experts in the field, or a likable expert, a likable person, a master of this, or jack of all trades in the PT world, and in the nursing world, whatever the case is. You want to get known for certain things in this field? Okay, this is all the content. You put it on all the platforms: LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok. Right. Whatever. I'm not going to go into how to do it, and what I would say is that if you're very serious about this, save a little bit of money and hire a small team. There's people out there online that you could just pay them, right? $200 a month. And what they'll do is like you can, and again, the person can start low, can start small and build up.
Right.
Well, what do I mean? Just, you can hire someone and say, listen, I know you got a small team. I don't have a lot of money, but with this $200 a month, maybe I'm going to film 1 hour videos of me, 1 hour, right? You don't have to do a lot of cutting, just cut in a couple places. Cause of course, the more editing a video needs, the more expensive, right?
Yeah.
So just cut a couple places, put those videos with the right hashtags, the right description, right everything on YouTube so I can get traction. Then just cut small clips for YouTube Shorts, for TikTok, and then take the professional ones or the ones that I sound better and put them on LinkedIn, right? You literally took, and again, the person can, the editor or the content editor or the manager, what they can do is from that one long video, they can cut tons of clips and put it everywhere and do everything for you, only for $200 a month. Now, to be fair, that's only posting maybe one long video a week. So it's for a month, but you can probably get 20 to 40 clips on all these different platforms in 1 month.
Right.
Now, as you continue to make money or you can save more money, you can maybe afford more. And guess what? Now, maybe you can start posting 2 long videos a week. So now it's double the content. Again, the way to make it here is to be everywhere. Put as much content as possible because you don't know what's going to work. And if you get at least just 10,000 subscribers, right? But the views are high because you got an editor who knows this stuff. You just got to focus on the medical content. Either it's PT, OT, PTA, OTA, right? Nursing or PA, it doesn't matter. Just focus on that. Right. Hire them to do the rest. Guess what happens? If you got a lot of views and at least just 10,000 subscribers, it's actually not that much, actually. You can get sponsorship deals. People are going to come to, oh, can you sponsor this? Can you sponsor that? And that could be like $1,000 a month. That's $12,000 already in 1 year. And that's off one sponsor. I'm not even talking about ad revenue. I'm not talking about other sponsor deals. Right. If you do an online course, if you wrote a book, an ebook, there's so many possibilities. Right. But again, this is the long term, but it is so worth it because then you'll be known to be this person and everyone's going to come to you.
So it's basically you're telling people, like, as a first step, right? Or one way is to make yourself a brand.
Correct.
Make yourself a name out there. Either
tell your story, how you got here. And then if in this example, if it's PT, PTA, OT, you can also break down certain common things that happen in that realm. Yes.
You could videotape it or however you want to do it. And then little by little, create yourself a name. So this is more of a long-term type, possibly income coming in.
Correct. Yes.
Got you.
Okay. Correct. And I plan on doing this. Right. I plan on doing this with you, with this podcast. I plan on doing this with my other stuff. Yeah. I'm not necessarily going to do this for my PT stuff, but I do it for other stuff. But it's the same idea.
But it's the same idea, just
same idea.
PT.
Correct. So that's the long-term play.
I was going to ask you. That's a long-term play because either way, it's ideal. And I think in the long-term play, it works out. But what would be like a short-term?
Short-term. Should I go to the second one?
Yeah.
Then just go to the second one? You don't want to go to yours?
Oh, you want to like interchange?
We could 100% because it's like, is yours also, the first one you have, is it also a long-term or is it more quicker?
Or is it like a whole different ballgame? I give like a little variety, right? So at least in mine, what I was able to look into, first I looked into electricians. Why? Because when I came out of high school, I didn't go to college. I became an electrical helper. So I kind of know a little bit that... that
was your first job?
That was my first job as an electrical helper. I know kind of that trade in a sense, how electricians work and stuff like that, right? But one thing that I did notice as time went passing by is if you want to increase your your income when it comes to being an electrician, is to basically specialize in areas that are starting to become more demanding, right? And that are rapidly growing as well. And one of those things are, they would call it like renewable energy systems, or like green energy is what they would call it. What that basically talks about is lowering operating costs, right? So as I'll give you an example, over here we have LED lights, right? We don't have lights with bulbs anymore. Why? Because lights that came through bulbs would consume much more energy, right? So your electricity bill would be higher. While LED lights now don't use as much energy and still produce the same amount of light, right? And so that obviously lowers costs as well. So this renewable energy systems or installations could be like solar panels, or very commonly nowadays wind turbines that are all around the US. So you start studying into like getting these certifications, into getting these licenses, you're basically setting yourself up for the future, right? Because little by little, the systems, the codes of every city, of every state are starting to change more into like renewable stuff, into green stuff. Like as an example, with cars, they said not in this state, but in California, they were like, oh, by 2030 something, everyone needs, all the car manufacturers cannot be selling any more gas cars.
Wow, in California, wow.
I believe in California, yes. I believe in New York is something very similar. I forget the year, I don't want to lie, but it's maybe in the next 10 to 15 years, I believe.
Wow.
So car manufacturers, that's why they're coming out with more electrical cars. Why? Because it's supposedly better for the environment, right? So apply that logic in cars, now apply it to electricity, right? Now they want to make anything obviously more electric, but also that's renewable energy, something that could be used again, something that could be used but at a cost less, but effective at the same time, right? So because obviously all these things help reduce air pollution and greenhouse gases, right? So this would be like one way if you're going to enter the electricity world. Hey, this in the future is starting to become a bigger thing now, right? So if you are looking into it and you want to get like certified or licensed in it, I would definitely push it, because these things are starting to become more of a thing now. Soon enough, all the old ways won't be what is a thing we follow. It's going to be new ways, which is going to be, they call it like the green energy way.
I'm just curious, question. Do you know how much more money they can make if you get certified in like the green energy?
Oh yeah, well usually normal electricians,
how much?
You can make from like 75K to like 100K, right? That's just, but we're not talking about these type of electricians.
You're saying general,
electrician, right? We're talking about, because there's also a different way to go up in the electrical world. Like if you're not getting into these green energy things, right? But I'll get to that in a second. But usually the electrician earns from like 75K to 100K, depending on what type of electrician you are. But these people that specialize will be earning much more than that, probably from 100 to 150K, because because these things are in demand. These things are growing rapidly, and we don't have that many people that know this type of knowledge or know how to install these things. Therefore, the quicker you start to get into it, the more money, the more opportunities you can start to get into these fields.
Wow. So wait, you said an electrician only makes 75 to 100K? You mean a normal electrician working in a normal, like underneath another electrician, or like within union? I'm just curious.
Right. So that's where it gets a little bit different, right? There's like in New York, there's something called Local 3, which is the biggest union brotherhood here when it comes to electricity.
Right.
One of the best. usually when you're in a union and you get accepted inside the union, but even a small company as well, you start as an apprentice. An apprentice is someone who is basically learning, right? You're new to the job, or you've been here like a year or so, and you're learning what it means to be an electrician, right? The difference between a hot wire and a neutral wire, which one's black, which one's white, how to install GFCIs, outlet. This is very basic stuff, right? And then little by little, you get into more complicated stuff. Maybe like if you're running wires through a house, you're pulling wire, BX wire, or you're getting into like commercial type electricity. That's when things become a little bit more complicated. But obviously, as an apprentice, this requires knowledge. This requires for you to put in your time, right? And this is what most people are going through. I would say right now, this whole green thing was more into, hey, you should probably get into this.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right? Because this is the future. This is what's coming. But most people are probably in that apprentice role. And after they get into that apprentice role, they go into the journeyman role, right? After you've been in a few years as an apprentice, and you've shown the company or whoever's your superior or supervisor,
your boss, isn't
your boss, basically, that you can handle certain things, or maybe you took out another certification. Okay, we'll boost you up to journeyman. So journeyman, you also go through a few years until you finally become the master electrician, right? And then you can potentially earn more or get higher roles depending if you're in a union type company, if you're in a private company, maybe you want to start your own business, stuff like that, right? But the master electrician, just like in plumbing, that license is the most important thing, right? Because that was basically says, hey, I'm not only capable of doing this job, but it's like I've passed certain exams, state-wise, city-wise, that could give you the security as the clientele that I'm able to perform this job, right? So that's what it comes down to. Obviously, just like any of these people that are, working their way up either in the union or not union in their jobs, obviously one of the ways to earn more income is to continue to study, continue to take out those certifications, continue putting your work and get those licenses. Therefore, you're able to earn more, you become more valuable, and obviously that's going to increase your income. So I think that's pretty obvious. But another thing, if you're a person that has started your own company or private business, you have maybe handyman services or like electrician, just pure electrician services, and you work for different commercial buildings or residential, you can offer 24-hour services, 24/7, right? So this is basically any emergency that happens either in the building or the home. They can always call your number, and then you charge them a premium rate. And then
if it's after hours,
they'll be able to we'll be able to come to you and fix the problem, whatever it needs to be fixed. So yeah, I guess these are different ways to make money.
So then the first one you're saying is specifically people who are electricians or becoming electricians or journeymen or apprentice.
Yeah,
go learn about green energy.
I would say I would
take
push
those licenses,
for it, right? I would definitely push for it because this is the future.
Because the world's going there.
The world's going.
And then your second tip was to if you have your own little company, focus on after-hour premium services.
No, I mean the second one is like if you're going to be ranking up.
Yeah.
Continue to study and take out these certifications and licenses, which could provide you more opportunities, and your pay becomes higher. Or if you're running your own private business, then I would say offer 24/7 hour services, which would help for your business, because trust me, there's always going to be an emergency.
Something's always
happening, right? And obviously, it's like basically being on call, like my job. Just anything can happen. This happens. Can I rely on you to give you a call and you show up, right?
Yeah.
And these are ways to make you more money. And this is how, especially if you're a reliable person, if you're a person that is actually like good at their job, word will pass by, right? This person will tell the other person, and then you have a whole contract between like a bunch of business owners.
It's like a locksmith, because don't locksmiths also do that? Like you can call them after hours, but of course they're going to charge you a premium, but they'll help you if you got locked out, or they'll make you a key or something like that.
Yeah. Locksmiths do that. Locksmiths charge good money as well. And some people just have their own private business and listen, hey, they put themselves like out there on Google, and people that have trouble like either getting in their car, their apartment, they show you the local area locksmiths. And then if you have the best rating, you'll be one of the first people that pop up and good reviews. And then people will read, okay, let me call this person, and then call it. Explain the situation. Okay, can I be there this time? Yeah, no problem. It's happened to me. Like one time I got locked out of my car. I needed a new key because I ended up losing it, and I ended up seeing who was like around the area and who was the best, and I called the best. And they came, and
how much did they charge you? 500?
Close to 500. I believe like 400. Yeah.
I mean, listen.
And it took maybe like an hour or less.
Probably less, right?
Probably less. Yeah.
And was it worth it?
I mean, I needed it, so yeah. But you see, they've created a brand for themselves, as you said before, right? They've put themselves on probably like LinkedIn or
Yelp or something.
Yelp, and have gain a clientele, and then they obviously ask these clientele, can you leave me a review, please, thank you, and then this spreads for other people that have emergencies and just are gonna Google the near electrician, the near locksmith, stuff like that. Boom, like you have a clientele right there. And then now this person can recommend you to other people in case other people have an emergency as well.
Interesting. And it's like just do this or focus in this niche, and just you'll make more money, which I love that. I love that.
Or you can work more overtime hours like I used to do.
True. That's true. That's true. But it's better. I like that way better. If I was in the blue collar community, I would do that instead. And I like the fact that you gave it's not really so long term. Like the person can start doing. Really. I mean, they maybe have to study a little bit, right?
You have to study a little bit, but trust me, like that's where everything is directing itself at the moment when it comes to like the electrician world and many other trades as well, which I'll get into. So that's like obviously where it's leading to. I would say, hey,
just go there.
Just go there, because this is demanding more pay. I mean, demanding more people. It's going to be higher pay. Why not? So that would be my advice.
Interesting. So now that you mentioned that, I'm gonna mention now a shorter term technique that if you're in the white collar community that you could do. And this idea could also definitely work out.
Yeah, both of these could apply
for blue collars, especially this one, the one I'm going to mention, which is you have an enticing referral program on your business card. And what do I mean? Or I've actually seen this recently on TikTok. There's like this business card. I'm thinking of getting it actually. There's like this platinum business card. I think the company's called Dot or something.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And you put it behind
on your phone, and then on their phone appears like a whole bunch of
links.
Yes. Their TikTok, their LinkedIn, and you just get all their information at once.
Quick, and you just go like that. So you don't have to give out business cards.
Yeah, I've seen those.
So I'm thinking of maybe doing that. But if the person doesn't want to do that, what they could do is, especially in their white collar community in these careers that I just mentioned, have a business card that mentions whatever, you're a nurse or PA or OT, PT, whatever, and just give them to people. But on the back of the card, right, you want there to be the referral program, which means this. It's like basically you're gonna have to talk to everybody, give your card out to everyone, and in the back of the card it says, listen, if you send me a patient and they tell me it's you and they become a patient, I'm gonna give you $100.
Oh, okay.
And I remember, I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of the times, like you'll see ads or referral programs. They're like, oh, for every person you give, we'll give you a $5 Dunkin' Donuts, I don't know, gift card, let's say, right? And listen, people love Dunkin' Donuts, but is it really worth me? And again, like I put myself
in that scenario.
And that's a scenario. Is it really worth me talking to my friend about how great you are and convincing them for $5 a Dunkin' Donuts? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But if someone told me, Aurus, listen, I'm an OT, I'm a PA, I'm a nurse, I do calls in people's houses, I'm a nurse and I specialize in diabetes, whatever the case is, right? Or I'm a wound care specialist. Every patient you give me that would need my services, I'm gonna give you $100. I'll Zelle you immediately, or I'll give you a check or whatever. Then you know something, then it's actually probably worth it. I'm like, oh man, if I just send 5 people, I get $500.
Yeah.
I could do something with $500. So then it's worth it for me, right?
It is an incentive.
It's an incentive. Right. I also learned this concept. Do you remember? I mean, I probably told you about the bigger pockets podcast. Okay. They're basically a podcast that talk about real estate, how to invest in it, different ways of investing in real estate, right? And there was one investor who was on the podcast. I remember because it was like what, like wow. And he spoke about this concept. He only invests in Section 8 homes, right? In certain states. And what he would do is he would do a raffle. And basically the whole incentive was that he wanted to make sure that his tenants stay in the homes, right? First of all, he would make the Section 8 houses look beautiful, like if they were not Section 8. And then on top of that, what he would do is he would put everyone's name in a raffle, and every year there would be a winner, which would be one of his tenants. And you know what he would do? He would buy them tickets for them to go to his timeshare in Florida, and they could vacation in his timeshare next to the beach in Florida for one whole week. So it's like, wow. It's like, yeah, I want to be his tenant. I want to be affiliated with him because look at these great gifts.
And then I'm more willing to never miss a rent payment.
Correct. You got it. Yeah. So what the person can do is just put that, give that incentive, $100. Now, of course, you're gonna have to have a little bit of money saved up. Yeah. Because some people will take this serious and they're like, $100? Oh, I got you. I can send you 20. Yeah. So wait, what's 20 times 100? 2,000. 2,000. You better send me $2,000. Yeah. Right. But in the long term, it's worth it. Now, of course, there's two ways of doing this. Either the clinician, the person who's in the white collar community can already have their own 9 to 5 and then do after hours these jobs so they have constant income. So if they have to pay the referral fee, it's not a problem.
Right. It's meaning like maybe like home care.
Like home care, yeah. Because nurses can do home care, PT, OT does home care, PAs do home care, right. PTA, OTA, right? So you could have your normal job. Right, and then slowly as you give out your cards, and you're gonna have to give out to everybody. And I don't just mean do this. No, I mean like talk to people, have people get to know you. We could do another episode on networking, right? Yeah, you could do it that way. And once you build enough clientele and you become popular enough, you can leave your 9 to 5 and just focus here. And then you can charge the person, I don't know, $100, $150 a session or more, whatever the case is, right? But it's worth it. Because you're paying $100, but you're charging more than $100 per session, right? And even let's just say, right, you got to give the person $100, and you charge $100. So okay, fine, maybe you lost money on the first session, but maybe that one client will give you 20 more sessions. So 20 times 100 is you made $2,000 from this one client, and you only paid $100 to get them. Right. So it's a whole math thing. Yeah. So I wrote a little example. If you get 10 referrals a month, right, from somebody, right, then you're spending $1,000, right, to get these 10 people. Yeah. Right, because you got to give 100 out each, right? But then what if each person stays with you at least 10 visits, just 10 visits? Let's just say 10 visits, because whatever, they can't afford more or whatever the case is, right? Just 10 more visits. Then 9 times 100 is not 900. So you're making $900 extra from each client. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's
definitely worth it.
It's like a short-term investment in something for like a long-term return.
100%.
So, hey, I'll give you $100, but like this person's I'm gonna be visiting them like 10 times.
Or at least a couple more times.
A couple more times, I'm making my money back plus more.
Plus more. So, yeah. I already made it back. Right. And then what I heard, I think maybe one of your vendors do with you, which I thought about, is do this, but then everyone that has referred you, keep them as a list. And at the end of the year, either for different holidays, you can send them a nice gift, say, thank you so much for thinking about me. that you refer me. I appreciate it. And you just keep doing that every year, and you build your referral list more and more and more and more. And yes, you might have to give more gifts, but guess what? People remember that, and they're like, oh, let me keep sending him patients.
Yeah.
And eventually you could build up.
Yeah. I do the same thing.
So I think that's a quicker way of getting money, making an extra thousands of dollars extra on your yearly salary.
Gotcha. Okay.
How about you?
Interesting. Well, the other one that I was able to look into was plumbing.
Plumbing, okay.
Right? It's a very common blue collar job that a lot of people get into because it's, you get paid a lot of money and stuff like that. But I think I would fall into the same realm that I fell into when it came to the electricians.
Mm-hmm.
New systems are starting to create themselves, which are water conserving systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the less water I use,
the better,
right? For example, one thing is called like a low flow toilet, right?
A what?
A low flow toilet.
Okay.
Meaning like
a low flow toilet.
Low flow toilet.
Oh.
That's just the name. It doesn't mean that it's like low.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But it basically talks about how, for example, on regular toilets, it's the same flush regardless if you do number one or number two, right?
Yeah.
But imagine a toilet, I'm pretty sure you've seen nowadays before, there's
two buttons.
There's two buttons, one for number one and one for number two.
Yeah.
Why? Because you don't need that much water if you're just going to do number one. But if you need number two, maybe you need a little extra water to be able to flush it.
Yeah.
But if you're using the same amount for either number one or number two, it's obviously you're using the same constant amount of water. So it's more water consumption,
mm-hmm.
right? And all these business owners that are constructing in New York City, either when it comes to
like new buildings,
either when it comes to electricity or water, they're trying to lower as much cost, right? Because they're obviously trying to gain more of a profit.
Of course.
But basically, these are more eco-friendly to the world. These water, what's it called? The water conservation systems, right? So basically, if you start to specialize in installing and maintaining these water saving systems, is what I would suggest to anyone who's getting into plumbing, right? To study into this. Also, there's a new thing called, that I find very interesting, actually. I didn't really know much about it until I started looking into it. It's called rainwater harvesting system, which is basically the collection and storage of rainwater rather than letting it run off. So basically, every time it rains,
you're recycling rainwater?
Yeah, but obviously you would have to clean it, right?
Yeah.
It goes through like a procedure of cleaning if you could use it domestically, right? If you could use it like in agriculture or other stuff, I didn't necessarily have to clean it. Like, it's very interesting. Other countries have used it as well. But it's basically free water.
Yeah, from the sky, yeah.
Free water from the sky. But it's like the recycling of water. I don't know much about it, but I've definitely seen it start to become more of a popular thing. Maybe in the future, you'll definitely see it more prominent. But people use it. Why? Because obviously you're saving money.
And the planet.
In a sense.
But more importantly is the money.
Right. So just like in electricity, which is more of a thing now, electricity is definitely I would say more mainstream when it comes to renewable energy than water conserving. But this is definitely a future thing upcoming on how to conserve water and stuff like that, right? Old buildings use a certain amount of pressure that's maybe unnecessary for certain pipes. Maybe we could use less pressure, or maybe there's a new system, a new pump we can install that uses less water pressure that's coming out of the city, but that could still give the same amount of water that's necessary for the building, right? But at a less cost but effective way, right? So these are, if you get into like these new ways of maintaining but also installing these water conserving systems, it's a way for the future for you to make more money. But obviously you would have to market these things to like owners that are like environmentally conscious about what is going on.
Correct, right? Because if people don't care about
you're
that,
not going to market it to someone who doesn't really care,
yeah.
Right? But I do definitely see this more of a future thing. A lot of things are becoming more, in a sense, green, which basically much more conservation, much more renewable stuff to help save the planet, in a sense, supposedly. Obviously, I would suggest the same thing when it comes to electricians, when it comes to plumbing. Make contracts with different businesses. Therefore, you become someone who is a regular maintenance when it comes to inspecting and making sure all the pipes are running correctly, the system is running correctly in the building or houses, and you're there for emergencies as well, 24/7, right? Because things always happen. That would be my suggestion, because plumbers earn from like $65K to $100K a year, around the same thing that would
like
the electrician. You can make more depending if you're like the master plumber or you have your own business and stuff like that. But or it could obviously be working side jobs, right? After hours. Many people don't want to really, especially like if you're like, you don't even need to really have like a business going on, but a lot of people need to do stuff at home. They need to change a valve, or they need to install a tank.
And no one's going to go learn how to do that.
Right, no one's going to really learn how to do that. It gets really complicated. You need to make sure, am I running the correct line? That's a supply, that's a return. Where is this water line coming from? Is it coming from the city?
Yeah.
Right? Different things, like you need to have the knowledge to do. You can't just be guessing, right? Which is the supply, which is the return, which is does my house, does my building run on hot water when it comes to the heating? Does it not? Is it electricity? Like you have to know these things to really be aware of what you're doing. And a lot of people are not going to do this. So a lot of people are not really going to want to either even pay the businesses, the private businesses, the small businesses that offer these type of things.
It's too expensive.
Because it can be too expensive at times. Sometimes and I'm not recommending this, I'm just because I've just seen it happen, right? Sometimes you are a person that is a master plumber or up there, right? You know what you're doing, and this other person needs you to do this job. And instead of them paying the company a certain amount of money for a job that isn't required much to do, because obviously the business needs a profit and needs to pay for labor.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. You as an individual, I know how to do that job. I've done it millions of times at my job. I could get that done in 30 minutes to an hour. Just give me, I'll tell you what to buy, get it from me, and I'll install it, and I'll just take all the profit. So you could do that as well. I mean, the same thing you could do with
but obviously the person who's doing the solo is going to charge less than the company.
It's going to charge less, yes. Exactly.
It's just them.
And I've seen a lot of people look into these things because not everyone wants to purchase the price that small businesses offer or bigger businesses offer, because obviously they tend to be more expensive, but they come insured as well.
So right? that's kind of like the trade-off.
That's the trade-off, right? I'm going to do it for you. I'm not insured, but like you trust that I can do a good job because of the history I have or what I'm capable of doing, what I've been able to show you, this and that, but I'm charging you less price and you pay me cash, whatever, right? Versus obviously a company that's insured and it requires for you to pay more because they need profit, obviously, and you got to pay for labor then as well. So that would be more of a plumbing thing. You can also do it as an electrician, which are two popular trades in my realm of blue collar community, but also a very popular thing that's starting to become very in demand is HVAC. I don't know much about it, but the other day when I was here working at my building, I had an HVAC problem and I don't have much knowledge on it. So I had someone who has knowledge on the HVAC system and was teaching me and was showing me like the different dampers and how it connects now to like different Honeywell displays and how it's connected to the fire panel of the building. And it was very interesting to understand and know the knowledge behind this. But they always tell me this is a very in-demand type job.
I have heard that too.
So I'm sure they get paid really well because these people are subcontractors to contractors that are contracted to like managements.
Well, that sounds complicated.
It's a little complicated. It's like I'm the general contractor. I have licenses, this and that. I have my own company. Management contracts them, but not necessarily this person has everybody for everything, right? So he probably needs to hire out, and he will hire out this person because they're licensed in this, or he knows how to do this, get this job done for me. I'm insured because not a lot of people want to get the insurance. The insurance is very costly, but these management companies need to have a safety net, which is the insurance. So the general contractor either from their team or hires out. And sometimes a lot of these HVAC people are hired out as subcontractors, which is under the contractors. And then they get the job done and they get paid really well. So I've seen
so you're basically giving out like the trends to look on.
Right, the trends to look out on. But HVAC is a very growing job. Either that could be ventilating, air conditioning, heating, and different types of jobs, either in houses or in buildings. I would definitely recommend to also look into, if you're going into trade, to look into these type of this type of trade. I believe is a job that could pay really well, and I see that it's in demand a lot.
Wow. It's interesting to hear like the money side to it too as well. That was interesting.
Even if you're an electrician or like a plumber or a carpenter
or HVAC,
hear me out. Or a carpenter, you could look into diversify yourself.
Diversifying your investment, diversifying your skills.
I also know HVAC and know how it runs and this and that. So, and then while you're doing your job or jobs at other places and you get to know people, network, right? Hey, I also know how to do HVAC. And that's also a big thing. So you're a jack of all trades. You're a person of lots of knowledge, right? You just don't know one, you know others as well. So it's good to know.
Interesting.
Knowledge is power.
100%.
So yeah.
Correct, Superman. Wait, was it Superman or Spider-Man who said no? Spider-Man is with great power
comes great responsibility.
But I think the other one's Superman. I don't know. So something like that.
Well, yeah. That's basically my.
If I had to pick one, I probably. I'm thinking, which one would I? I think I would go with the HVAC. Me. If I had to pick one of these, I think I would go with HVAC.
Really?
I wouldn't want to do plumbing.
Plumbing it's. I believe it's
less dangerous than electricity.
It is less dangerous than electricity. I believe it's a bit more labor than electricity. Either way, electricity, you still do have to do some type of labor, but I believe plumbing is much more. I would say electricity is a little bit more complex.
And HVAC?
HVAC, I don't know much. So I really wouldn't say, but HVAC has a connection to electricity as well.
So I guess I would have to go with that one. If I had to pick one, maybe I would go with that one.
Yeah, it's more of a cleaner job.
Yes.
More of a cleaner job.
Cleaner job, yes. That's why I chose the white collar community, because it was more cleaner.
Yeah. No, I'm telling you, it's any of these jobs you're going to get dirty in.
Yeah.
Some you're going to get more dirty than others. But it requires for you to be moving. It requires a lot of hand work. It requires for you to have the knowledge to like understand what goes where.
Gotcha.
But it's not you're sitting in an office. This is
correct. No, not
unless you're like in a supervisory position. Not necessarily sitting in an office, but you could be like hanging around and stuff like that.
Interesting. Okay. I like that one. That one was good. I think that one so far was my favorite when you explained that. All right. I'll give you my last one.
Okay.
My last tip, if you're in a white collar community, right, what's another way to make money, increase your yearly salary, right? And I'm going to give two specific examples. And I wanted to end with this one.
Okay.
Because this is like, it's kind of like what you said, right? These are like the trends, but it basically, you need to specialize and become a master of something, or get known that you're good at one good thing. But again, I'm going to give a caveat. only specialize in the white collar community. Again, this is only my opinion.
Okay.
Right. There's debates on this, right? In the medical community, in the white collar community, like in the healthcare professions, if it's worth it to specialize in one thing or become a master of all trades, as you mentioned, right?
Right.
So what I would say is this: specialize in something if that one new skill in your healthcare profession is going to really dramatically increase how much you make, right? Or the clientele that you have access to, this new skill is going to blow the competition away, right? So maybe the new skill or the new specialty, maybe it won't pay more in the beginning, right? Or it won't pay maybe too much at all, like increased so much, but it will get rid of all the competition in your area and everyone's only going to go to you. That's it. Then you basically got all the clientele, you got all the clients. So maybe it doesn't make, again, I'm saying maybe it doesn't matter that you didn't get an increase in hourly or yearly salary, but guess what? You have so much more clientele. By supply and demand, you can increase your rates because so much people are after you because of this new skill that you have and maybe not a lot of people have. Or everyone in that community or the people that you have access to need it. So because there's so much supply and demand, you have to raise your rates. But you didn't. The rates didn't get raised because of the new skill. No, it got raised because of the supply and demand. But sometimes it's the opposite. Maybe there isn't a supply and demand so much, maybe there, but because of the new skill, you automatically got a higher pay and it's dramatically different. So let me give you an example. For example, and PTs and OTs can do this. Right? I don't know about nurses or PAs, but for example, there's something called a CHT license and certification, which stands for Certified Hand Therapist. Okay. Right? So me as a doctor of physical therapy, I can treat someone's hands, right? But, right, like the very general stuff, carpal tunnel, maybe if there's a trapped nerve around this area and they feel tingling numbness over here, or maybe they had a fracture in one of the bones, I would know how to deal with all that stuff, right? Or they got muscle tightness or muscle weakness, whatever. I could help out. But believe it or not, there's actually a lot of complicated hand injuries. I think it was Leonardo da Vinci that said the two most complicated parts of the whole body, right, are the hands and the feet. Because there's so many muscles, tendons, ligaments, joints, so many. And it does so many things at the same time that it's so complex, right? That's why there's a specialty specifically only for hands because so much things happen. So we can do so much things with our hands. Right. And there's also many types of surgeries that people get in their hands that is too complex and it's too risky for a normal therapist, a normal OT or normal PT or PTA or OTA to treat a normal one. Okay. You need a specialist. Gotcha. So a certified hand therapist, right? When they actually get this license, right, it can increase their yearly salary by 20 to 25%. 20 because first of all, there is only 6,600 certified hand therapists in the entire United States of America.
Repeat that. How many?
There's only 6,600 in the whole United States. Bro, there's 330 million people in this country. Yeah. There's only 6,600 certified hand therapists, like specialists with a hand, in the whole country, right? It's now why there's so little? First of all, because it's very hard to get this license. Because if you want to get this license, first of all, you have to become an OT or a PT. Of course. You have to get that license first. You have to. Yeah. Which takes undergrad, maybe 3-4 years, plus then OT and PT schools could be anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 years. So that's already 6 to 7 years of schooling. Then if you want to get this one on top of that, you need to practice, ready for this? 4,000 hours. You need 4,000 hours of direct practice over a minimum of 3 years. So you can't do it in 1 year. You got to do it. You got to break down the 4,000 hours in minimum at least 3 years or more. Wow. Right? And I think in those hours, you're not getting paid. You're not getting paid. So it's like you have to work somewhere else. You have to live your life. And like when you have time, you're doing the 4,000 hours. And then every 5 years, you have to recertify to get this, to maintain this license.
Yeah. Wow.
So again, maybe the area you're in, maybe it's worth it. Maybe it's not. I actually thought about it. I thought about it. I'm like, oh, maybe I should do this.
Dedication.
It's a lot of dedication. And trust me, I just graduated a couple of months ago, and I'm tired of school. I don't want to do school anymore.
Right.
I don't want to do it. And 4,000 hours, it's a long time. Just one other quick example is something called an OCS, which stands for, because I think maybe when you spoke to Dr. Friedman, he spoke about it.
I was thinking of he was a hand specialist, but I didn't want to say.
No, he's definitely not a hand specialist. No.
Okay, gotcha.
I've met one CHT in my life, one. But she was an OT, and then she went to get this.
Gotcha.
Because one time I had a hand issue, and she helped me out, right? And I don't think I have it anymore. So OCS, which is occupational, orthopedic. I'm sorry, orthopedic clinical specialist.
Okay.
Basically, you are a specialist when it comes to outpatient things like ACLs, meniscus tears, shoulder, like basically anything to do with muscles, tendons, ligaments, bones, and joints. You become a specialist in that.
Gotcha.
And again, a normal PT knows a lot of this stuff, but this person takes it an extra level, and they have to do an extra, I think, 2,000 hours within 3 years or more, and they have to recertify every couple years. And there's only 21,390 of these people in the whole United States. I mean, it's a lot more,
obviously,
right, than the CHT, but it's still, compared to for 330 million Americans, that's not a lot. And their yearly salary can increase anywhere from 10 to 25K. But again, that's you working at a normal job that maybe they'll tell you, if you get this license, we'll pay you a bit more.
Right.
But maybe if you're doing home care, if you're treating famous people.
Yeah, you tell them, I have this.
Or athletes, you tell them, I have this, they're going to take you immediately. Because you're rare. You're only 22,000 of you in the whole country. So yeah, we definitely need you. But again, it depends on your hustle, right? You're willing to hustle. But if you just want to work a normal 9 to 5 and just make your 80 to 100K as a nurse, well, actually nurses and PAs can make more as a PT or OT, right? Then you just want to work your 9 to 5, then maybe this is not worth it for you. But if you're trying to make more money, save your money, then invest, as we've spoken in another episodes, right? If people haven't heard those episodes, go check those episodes out, right? Like and subscribe, right? Definitely maybe look into what else can I get specialized? Like nurses do something called, PTs can do it too, but it's more popular for nurses or maybe even PAs to specialize with wound specialists. Wounds, like, I think I told you about this, pressure injury wounds where people get holes in their bodies because they can't move around.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have severe burn. They got burned in a house, right? You can't just put alcohol on it or put bacitracin.
Yeah.
It's special. You need to be specialized to treat these people. You have to know exactly what you're doing, what dressing, what ointment, how to move them, how to cast them. This is more of like a nurse's thing, maybe PAs, all right? Again, there's so much to talk about here. I'm just giving a couple examples. But again, I'm not saying that's always the case, that you should do that, right? I think at the end of the day, and I think maybe you can agree with me before I hear your third point, right? If you're in any of these fields that I'm mentioning in the white collar community, first of all, you have to be self-aware. How much are you willing to hustle? What's your goal? How much are you willing to hustle? What are you willing to do? Are you willing to spend time networking or going back to school to get a specific certification over a certain amount of hours and years? What are you willing to risk? And risk one thing for another, because you got to risk something. You got to give something up. You have to. So what is it? Is it the hustle, networking, going back to school, learning a skill? What is it? So I think once you make up your mind, you can then hear your ideas or my ideas, depending on what community you're part of. Or maybe you can mix the ideas and go out there and make that extra 15 to 50K. And I know you kind of hinted it, but you don't have to open up your own store, your own business.
Yeah, you don't really have to.
Right? A lot of people out there, right, they're entrepreneurial, they have entrepreneurial tendencies, but it doesn't mean they want to be the CEO. No, they just want to make an extra 15 to 50K, right? If you're just trying to do that, you don't have to go open up a business or start your own company. If you're trying to do a lot more, we could definitely talk about that in some other episode. Then you got to take another step.
Yeah.
But I think if you're just trying to make more money in your yearly salary to hit bigger goals, this is the way to do it.
We're more like investors.
That's you and me. We're more like investors. Oh, thank you. Thank you. What about you? The third one?
The third one, let's see. Well, I talked about construction workers.
Yeah.
They are basically a new thing. Like I said before, everything's starting to become a green thing. It's called green construction.
Green hat. That's his favorite color. I'm kidding. No, it's not. It's blue.
Wow. But one of my advices was to get certified in green building standards, and one of the programs they have is called LEED, but LEED, which is a Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design program. So obviously, like you said, once you start to specialize in these things that are rare, you start to become more like in demand for people, right? And obviously, you can also get into like project management things, right? The more skills you gain and the more certifications you gain, the more pay and the more supervisory roles you can get. So that would be, I didn't specify so much into this, but if you start to look into what...
into lead, right?
Into lead, yes. If you start to look into this, what's it called? I believe this is a certification, yes. This lead certification into construction, you can open your opportunity into potentially getting bigger roles inside companies, inside different construction like areas. And by you being so rare and having this certification, they are more likely to hire you and give you more opportunities for work.
Interesting. So, it sounds like after what I said, after what you said, again, blue collar, white collar, and we gave different specific careers, right? These were like all like techniques, tactics, strategies, ideas that you can roll with, right? But at the root of it, it sounds like you're right. Yes, we're giving specifics, but at the root of it, it boils down to habits.
Yes.
Right? It boils down to habits. So what are just a couple quick habits that, it's funny. I've noticed that if people can have the tactics and the strategies, but if they don't have a foundation, this is going to be useless. Or people have the foundation, they have the general ideas, but they don't know specific tactics on how to do it, like we just gave.
Yeah.
So what's some of the foundation that people who are willing to hustle have in common, like in the blue collar, white collar community? Like what would you say?
Yeah, so you're totally right. We talked about these different
specific
tactics in specific job environments, how to work yourself up, how to gain more money. But you need a foundation, a base before that, right? Something that can help. Or what are these habits that these rich people have? You're totally right. So I wrote down a few things, actually.
Tell me.
And one thing that you do really well is continuously learn and read.
Thank you.
That's something I need to work on. But why? Because it obviously expands your knowledge. It improves your skill. You start to get new ideas on different things. Just like we learned, if you want to get these certifications, you want to get these licenses, you need to read. You
got to study.
You got to study, which involves reading, right? Because this is going to improve your skill.
Gaining knowledge.
Exactly.
Can't be lazy.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. So the more you do it, the better probability you have of taking out these certifications, because you already have the habit of continuously reading and learning, right? That's one. You mentioned this earlier as well, building networks, building relationships. Because that's what successful people do. Networking is key, where they build strong networks that help them progress in life, right? And obviously, while you build networks, you can also obtain mentors, right? People that are already successful in that realm, in that environment, and can help you continue to build. So that would be another one. I don't know if you want to expand into these that I'm going to mention, but it could also be financial discipline, when you track
that's good.
And stick to budgets, right? You can't just be, spending more than
what you
than
earn.
what you earn. It doesn't make sense, especially these certifications and licenses that we talked about before are not free.
Mhm.
They're going to cost you a certain amount of money to just take the test.
It's a pretty penny. Yeah.
So you would just want to be able to take the test. You got to have some money to take it. And guess what? If you fail, you got to pay again.
Yeah.
So you better make sure you try to pass the first time, right? But obviously it involves some type of money. So that's why you track your expenses, be on a budget, so you can have money to do these extra things. Obviously set yourself certain goals, right? Long-term goals, short-term goals, as you mentioned at the beginning. Because what successful people do is they regularly adjust and review their circumstances, their goals, their ideas, and see if they need to change. And depending on if they need to change or not, they will adjust to that. And for me, at least, the last thing that I wrote was exercise. Strong mind. A strong body is a strong mind. So that involves exercising, that involves eating healthy and stuff like that. So I think if you have these habits, it will help you follow along in whatever career you have, either as white collar or blue collar, until, eventually succeed and gain more money, either like we talked about 15 to 50 more K.